start off talking about the change of staff, because it looks like De Zerbi is finally getting his staff through the door. Himothy saying that Brighton assistant head coach Andrew Crofts will be joining Tottenham Hotspur. Andrew Crofts worked with De Zerbi throughout his time at Brighton from 22 to 24. When De Zerbi joined Brighton, he promoted Crofts from the under-21s manager to his first team coaching staff, and they will be reunited now at Tottenham Hotspur. Tom Tombleson from the City Group and Ali James from Villa will be joining as part of the medical department as well. And also Stuart Lewis, who was the first team academy transition coach, has left to join Ipswich. So SZY also backed up the Andrew Crofts claim as well. So looks as though De Zerbi bringing in his number 2, and also a couple of guys in the medical department, which will be thoroughly needed.
Yeah, there's no point giving De Zerbi all this control on the transfer market and then not in the backroom staff. You've got to give him everything he wants. And if he rates this guy and he thinks he could be a really valuable assistant coach, you've got to bring him in. Obviously, I don't know too much about him, how good he is, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure De Zerbi brings him in for a reason. When it comes, obviously, to the medical department, we've badly needed that. We all know that. We've had so much trouble with the medical department over the last few years, and we need just a complete root and branch ripping up of the whole section, and we need it just streamlining to much more efficient, because at the moment we're just picking up so many injuries left, right and centre. Yeah, so one's coming from Villa, which is quite interesting, because their injury record was okay, wasn't it? I think last season wasn't too bad,
more or less. Yeah. So
maybe they've seen that and think maybe we could do with someone who's within their camp. Obviously, the City Group, they always are the best in class and whatever they do, so that's encouraging as well. So all great, all happy days.
I'll tell you what, if we don't have an injury crisis this season, those are going to be the best 2 signings that we've made over the 100%. Summer.
They're going to be worth 100 million within themselves.
Yeah, literally.
So, obviously, I remember having this conversation with when De Zerbi first signed, and I don't think it was Crofts. It was maybe a different assistant manager or member of staff that he brings with him everywhere, and it didn't bring him with him to Spurs. And we're questioning, why is that? Are they giving all the staff he wanted? But clearly, with this new season coming up, he's made a few more demands. He's got so much power now. He can probably bring in whoever he wants. So.
Yeah, well, look, De Zerbi actually mentioned it in a press conference at the back end of last season, didn't he? And he said, they asked him, why haven't you brought over that many staff? And he said, because he just wanted to keep everything just,
didn't want to confuse anyone.
Didn't want to make too much change at the back end of last season. And, it was kind of insinuated that in the summer, a lot of people, or some people, will be moved over. So maybe this is the first of many, who knows? But that's the news right now.
In terms of Stuart Lewis, apparently it's quite he could be quite a big miss, they're saying. Apparently he's quite a good coach.
Yeah, look, he's been making his way up the ranks at Tottenham, made his way as part of the first team last season to a transitioning coach from the academy to the first team. Obviously, the transition from the academy to the first team hasn't been great, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, look, apparently he's got a big reputation about him inside the 4 walls at Spurs. So our loss is going to be Ipswich's gain, and I wish him all the best.
There's Ali Gold was saying he wouldn't be surprised if in a few years he might become actually a head coach at some point. He thinks he could be on that pathway.
Yeah, they said the same about a few guys that have left Spurs. Obviously, Ryan Mason, he went over to do it, but not very successfully. And there was, the name skips my mind
Cochrane?
now. Not Cochrane, well, him as well. But the one that's just gone to coach in the MLS, what's his name?
I know you're talking about.
Name just skips my mind.
I can't remember his name either. I know exactly what you're talking about. Colorado.
Yeah, he's obviously was at Spurs, and I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. But he's a very highly rated coach and doing well in the MLS. So
Ange was as big as an inspiration.
Yeah, there's no Davies at Birmingham as well. Another one.
Who's the manager of Colorado, guys? Matt Wells. Matt
Wells. How can I forget Matt Wells? So, look, a few guys in Spurs that have gone out with big reputations, and let's see how they all do. All right, well, we do have a done deal to talk about, and he goes by the name of Tynan Thompson. We heard at the back end of last week this could be happening, and it's all been officially announced. We've reached an agreement with Manchester United for the transfer of Tynan Thompson. Ali Gold says that Man United have signed Thompson from Spurs for $4 million plus a further $4 million in add-ons with a 20% sell-on clause. and a profit plus 20% sell-on clause on profit plus matching rights on any future bid. After such a difficult year with personal circumstances, the family wanted to relocate from the area. He's a terrific talent. George Sessions says that he's told that Thompson had started to grow frustrated at the lack of first-team opportunities at Tottenham. Made the bench 3 times, but the pathway left the wing on the left wing was blocked. Thompson lost his father in late 2025, and his desire to relocate from the area was expressed by his family. A potentially $8 million deal plus a sell-on clause in the region of 15 to 20 million is good business for Tottenham, but Thompson is a big talent, great dribbler in the Rashford mould. It makes sense. And a Man United ITK, Sully Talk, says that personal issues are one, but the lack of a pathway to the first team have become a real concern at Spurs, especially within the parents of the young players. Stuart Lewis advocated for Thailand to get minutes last season when Spurs had injury problems, but he was not listened to. So I wonder if there was a bit of more of a pathway, maybe he would have stayed at Spurs. But it's a great deal for Spurs, really. You know, a player that's only played under 21 football could turn out to be an £8 million deal. But we've seen him play, you know, in pre-season and the under 21s. He does look like a real talent.
Yeah, obviously 8 million, you can't, potentially 8 million is pretty good for a player who you don't know how good he is. He's only 18. So I think from Tottenham's point of view, you take the money, you move on. Obviously 20% sell-on clause as well. So if any future deals happen, if he goes for any significant fee, Tottenham get a slice to that. So that's nice. And we've been doing that with all our sales, which has been really encouraging. And I think Rafi Mawson's doing a great job with the getting these clauses into all the sale contracts. When it comes to Tynan, whenever we saw him in I think he made some performances in pre-season, and I remember being very, very impressed with him. And he looked like one of the shining lights when he came off the bench, and was really impressive. I remember on a few occasions. I remember we were looking forward to like Lancashire and Moore coming on. Yeah, it was Tynan who was the one a lot of the time actually outshining those players a few times. So I think that's the thing I would say when it comes to what Stuart Lewis is saying, and that is something that I think Spurs on many, many occasions we've complained about managers. They would rather put square pegs in round holes and give a go to an academy player, a young player with a little experience. And definitely last season when we were basically had no wingers, Kudusel, we were relying on Tell, we were playing Gallagher on the right sometimes, we just had no wingers. Why not give Tynan a go? Even if it's off the bench, give him a 20-minute run out, see how he does. Because if he does well, bang, you have a player that you can actually use. And if he doesn't, then you keep doing what you're doing with whatever, Gallagher or whatever on the wing. So I totally get those frustrations. And if I'm a parent of one of these players, or even one of the coaches who your job is to get these players trained up and ready for the first team and develop them, and if you feel like they should deserve an opportunity or they're good enough to get an opportunity in there, and the current first team manager constantly they're settling for not even good options ahead of them, then that's got to be very, very frustrating. And you've got to look at that situation thinking, are you ever going to get your opportunity here? That's something Tottenham have struggled with for a long time now. Ever since probably the early days of Poch, when we were seeing a lot of younger players coming in and doing well, we just haven't given those opportunities regularly. You can probably remember Tanganga getting some regular opportunities under Mourinho. You had Winks coming into the squad and Skip, but this you're talking about how maybe a handful of players over a 10-year period here. Definitely there's been opportunity, especially during our injury crisis, to at least see what these academy players can offer, and we've consistently declined those opportunities and gone with more experienced players out of position, and that's got to be very frustrating. I don't even think it's helped us, to be honest, because we've continually underperformed. I'm not even saying that we definitely would have helped us if they got a chance, but at least try and give it a go and see what they can do. Sometimes they can surprise you, so yeah, it's frustrating to be losing a talent like Tynan. But let's hope we've got some other talented young players. Let's hope they don't all go the way of where Tynan's going. Luke Williams-Barnett and Junai Byfeld and Mikey Moore. These got so many talented young players, teenagers, that I think all Spurs fans really resonate with and want to see get opportunities. But we do have De Zerbi at the helm now. We are signing lots of players for lots of money. I don't think he's interested, or it's in his interest to give these players an opportunity.
I think for the De Zerbi one, I think we're trying to buy players that are men, that are ready-made, that have been there, done it in terms of the Premier League football. And I think once you see that settled team, then you'll see maybe it'll be an opportunity to bring in a few youngsters here or there. But for where we're at right now, we can't carry these youngsters. We just finished 17th twice in a row. We need to start fighting our way up the league first. And then I think maybe you can start seeing a few youngsters being integrated here and there. It is a shame to lose Tynan Thompson. He's a player that I enjoyed watching in pre-season last summer. But again, like if a player wants to go, he wants to go, and there weren't going to be too many opportunities for him next season. And apparently, if you believe SZY and a few others, he's going to be part of the Man United first team next season, and he's going to be a rotation option for them on the wings. So
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, fine. But we said that about Aidan Heaven, and Aidan Heaven got significant game time last season at a similar age. So that's the dream that they're selling Tynan. So if he believes it and they pull up to their word, he will be part of their first team next season.
And obviously we were never going to do that.
We were never going to do that, exactly. So it's a brilliant move for him. I think it's a good move for us in terms of the money that we're getting in. So I think it's just one of those that just suits all parties.
Yeah, and obviously, as people in the comments mentioned, there's family and personal reasons as well. So that obviously plays a massive part into him wanting to relocate. And I think, it's a shame, but I think these things happen and we get some money, so it is what it is. Wish him all the best. But I just hope, as I said, like we've got other young players, so we've got a lot of high hopes for, and let's just hope we don't end up losing all of them. Yeah,
absolutely. There was just a super chat quickly, just to move on because it's quite relevant, that is from a Gooner, but they say quite rightly that Arsenal have just signed 18-year-old Elijah Upson from Tottenham as well, so another good prospect leaving Spurs, crossing the North London divide to go to Arsenal. But this one hurts a little less. I know he's got a big reputation about him, but he's son of Matthew Upson, so maybe he was always going to make that. But better making it now than making it in 10 years' time, I'll tell you that.
He's a Gooner at heart, so we don't need any of those.
Exactly. We had enough of them, and maybe we still got too many of them. So that's that. Let's move on and talk about some potential exits, because it's nothing really groundbreaking, but Himothy is saying that Ashley Phillips, Kota Takai, Manuel Solomon and Dane Scarlett could all leave permanently this summer. It would be a shame to see Ashley Phillips go, but I always thought that might be the way it's going to go. But Kota Takai, what was the point of Kota Takai, man?
We did numerous videos, didn't we, last summer when we were linked with him and we ended up signing him, saying I don't see the point in this signing because we've got Phillips, we've got we had the time Vuskovic, we've got young centre backs already, right? Is he so we don't want him, like, if we're going to send him out on loan, we've got other ones we trust. He's not going to be in the first team, and obviously ended up being injured. He's gone out on loan, and
he's pretty much been injured ever since we signed him. Even on loan he was injured.
I've heard though I've read that when he did play for Gladbach, it wasn't exactly impressive, put it that way. So if we end up losing him permanently, it's just been a complete waste of time. We signed him for, 3 million or whatever it was?
Yeah,
it wasn't a lot of money, so I doubt maybe we'll get our money back. Maybe we'll get 5 million, maybe get a bit of profit, I don't know. But it's been a complete waste of time, hasn't it, Kota Takai?
Yeah, massively.
But in terms,
he came injured.
Yeah.
And he's going to leave injured.
Yeah, the whole thing was... I remember everyone's doing all these videos about, this is so good, he's this, he's that. And then the end comes here, does nothing. Classic. When it comes to all these other players, how much out of those 4 players, how much do you reckon we can get for them?
I think Manor, below 5 million probably. Ashley Phillips.
You should be able to get at least 5 for Manor, surely, no?
Maybe. He can't have that much left in his contract, though. That's the thing.
I mean, considering what he's done in his career, I know he's had injuries and stuff, but he's been good in quite a few seasons, and at Shakhtar, at Fulham, at Leeds. Even at times at Fiorentina on his loan spell, he had some good moments. So surely you get at least 5 for him.
Maybe, but that's at the absolute max, I think.
You think so? I think we get more than 5.
I don't think so. Like off the back of his great loan spell at Leeds, we weren't able to get a decent.
Yes, we were demanding over 20.
Yeah, but even still, I don't think bids of over 10 million were coming in.
Okay, but if we probably rejected a 10 million. I think we probably rejected bids of 8 million or something. For him,
I don't know. Maybe
I think that's what they were saying at the time. But I think we can get somewhere between 5 and 8
It depends what his contract says. Like, when does his contract run out? He's got to be going into at least the last year of his contract now. And if he is, then it'll be even less. His contract runs out, 2028, so 2 years.
Yeah, market value of 8 million. I think somewhere around that is fair.
Might be fair, but I just don't think we're going to get it.
I would say 5 at the least. I would say, not the most.
We'll see. I think
Anyway,
5
go on,
million at the
5.
most. I think Dane Scarlett will go for cheap.
Yeah, he will go for maybe 2. I don't know. He won't go for a
Shame with
lot.
Dane Scarlett, because we all had such high hopes for him. He's gone to Scotland and not done much. And you would think like he needed to go to Scotland and rip it up. He really did. Kota Takai will go for less than we bought him for. And Ashley Phillips, he might be the one that commands the biggest fee.
You're thinking at least 10.
Ashley Phillips, he's excelled in every season. You know, he's been one of Stoke's best players in the last couple of seasons. I think Ashley Phillips, a Premier League team, could easily pick him up, in my opinion.
So maybe for those 4, 20 million maybe?
I think, max 20 million, maybe a bit less.
Or you could get more than 10 for Phillips.
Maybe. I think for Phillips, it'll be like 10 million with a further like 3-4 million in add-ons, maybe, something like that.
And then 10 million for the other 3. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it looks as though those 4 could all potentially be up for sale this summer. Another
anyone you would like to keep from there, like loan out instead of sell?
The only one that interests me is Ashley Phillips. Everyone else can go, but I mean Ashley Phillips as well was stocked at centre back, so there's no real pathway for him.
Interesting. Now Vuskovic is sold permanently though. Maybe if we loan him out, maybe he could come back and we could do whatever we had planned for Vuskovic for him. But I don't know if we have as high hopes for him as we did Vuskovic.
But you also remember we've got Junai Beifeld there as well.
True.
Who the club have real high hopes for. So yeah, look, I think if a decent bid comes in for Ashley Phillips, he'll go.
I think that seems to be the plan for anyone who's kind of out on the fringes.
Yeah, exactly. Another player who could be up for sale or is up for sale is Pape Matar Sarr. Paul O'Keefe saying that Tottenham are open to offers for Pape. However, Spurs journo said that Pape has generated the least amount of interest this summer, which is very interesting. I thought there would be some interest in Pape. Maybe there is, and it's just not as much as the others. But at this moment in time, there's no sort of talks of him leaving because there's not much interest.
Yeah, obviously there was rumours of Brentford earlier in the window, but that hasn't materialised. Yeah, you would have thought there'll be clubs maybe in France, maybe lower end of the Premier League, that would look at Pape and think, yeah, chuck 20 million, chuck 20 million at that, and that's probably a decent signing at 23, who's shown he can play he's okay in the Premier League and definitely had some good spells, but you know, maybe just needs to play somewhere where he's playing more consistently than he has done over the past couple of years. I still think obviously there is a good player in Pape, but last season he badly stagnated. Season before was very up and down. I think his first season under Ange was pretty good, but ever since then it's been very poor.
The thing is, right, everyone goes on about that first season under Ange, and he was great up until the AFCON. And I think he's been off the boil since then, pretty much. He came back, was pretty poor from that point on till the end of the season. And ever since then, it's only been like a few games here, a few games there, where he's actually shown a really good level.
Yeah, so he's not had a great time of it of late, for sure. He's been a lot worse recently. So I think he probably needs a fresh start. I do think we probably could do with the money that he brings. But it's going to be interesting to see if we can't get any moves for him. Do we maybe loan him out? Maybe if we loan him out, could drive up some interest. Maybe raise his value a bit if he has a good loan spell.
His stock is fallen so low that he can't even get into the Senegal team anymore. That's the thing. Like, he was like a shining light for them when we, like, in his first year for Spurs. Well, even when he wasn't playing for Spurs, he was still getting in the Senegal team. Now he can't even get into the Senegal team, which is mad.
I mean, they have good players there.
They do have good players, but Pape was one of their good players.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's a shame. You know, there was one point we were saying maybe he could potentially be a £100 million midfielder one day, but that just never materialised for whatever reason. Maybe we just overrated him massively. Maybe he's not as good as we think he is. I still think there is potential there. I think maybe we thought there was more potential than there actually is. I think that is probably true. We probably did overrate him. But I do think he's definitely better than what he's showing at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about Djed, a standout player in the World Cup for England. And Sam Tabital saying that Tottenham would ideally like to keep Spence, but limited minutes and growing interest in the versatile fullback could see him leave for the right price. Footy Insider saying that Everton could now rival Inter Milan to sign Djed Spence this summer. The 25-year-old has attracted interest after impressing for England at the World Cup and could leave Spurs. Everton could step up their pursuit in the coming weeks, while Inter Milan are considering a move. It's interesting with Djed. I think everyone after watching him at the World Cup is being like, nah, keep him at Spurs. He's got to stay at Spurs. He's got to stay at Spurs.
Yeah.
But it feels like this move away could be driven more by Spence than the club.
That's another thing. That's also a part of it, isn't it? What Spence wants, which we haven't really talked about. He probably feels like he's starring at the World Cup at the moment. His stock has risen so high. He's probably getting a lot of. His agents probably saying, "Look, you need to be somewhere where you're starring. You need to be somewhere where your stock can rise even higher." Because even if he moves to like an Everton or whatever, and then he's playing every week, and if he's playing well, all of a sudden the big six might start looking at him. So I don't think they are right now. Maybe they might, but I don't think they're gonna all be swarming over him. But once he starts really balling out week in, week out in a Premier League team, and is like the best fullback at a Premier League team, then maybe the big six will start to look at him, because that World Cup has maybe opened a lot of people's eyes to how good he can be, and he's obviously been sensational. And obviously most Spurs fans now, a lot of Spurs fans in our comments, whenever we do a video about it, we get inundated with keep Spence, you can't let him go, you'd be crazy to let him go. Some people think he's our best fullback. I had a discussion with a Spurs fan the other day he was saying that why the hell would we let go of Spence when we have a doggy? Why wouldn't we sell a doggy and keep Spence? Doesn't that make more sense when a doggy's such a sick note? And you know what? I mean, he makes some good points, especially when you're watching what Spence can do in the World Cup. I mean, Spence, what I've seen in the World Cup, has probably done a lot better than what a doggy's done over the last year or so. So there is a case there. I still think when a doggy's at his best, I still think he probably offers more at left back than Spence. But the reality is we haven't seen the doggy at his best for a while, and he is constantly injured. So is it worth waiting or trying to see if we can get a doggy to first stay fit and then be back to his best? Or should we just keep and invest in Spence and tell him, look, you're going to get more opportunity at left back and you're going to be our guy? It's a tough one. But I think at the moment, De Zerbi wants probably left footers there and on the left, and we've got Porro, who's just probably one of the few fullbacks who was better than him at the World Cup. So chances are going to be limited for him.
Yeah, I agree. Like I've mentioned before, I don't think Spence is the exact profile De Zerbi's looking for. And on top of that, Spence is looking around saying, look, I'm second choice here. So he didn't get much minutes under De Zerbi in the last 7 games of the season. He's gone to the World Cup and smashed it out. His stock is at the highest it's ever been. So as much as I want to keep him, and I think it kind of has completed our set of fullbacks with Robertson and Loggy and Porro and Spence, if a good offer comes in, and I think Spurs will sell, because we've just got, especially on the right-hand side, a fullback that is that much better than Djed Spence. And we can all talk about his World Cup performances, but Porro's been the best right back at the tournament. So
part of me hopes we just don't get a good offer and he ends up staying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the best of both worlds. It's not like we're not willing to. So he can't be angry at us because we're willing to sell him, but we just didn't get the offers. And then so he has to fight for his place. I don't think he's a guy. I don't know, but I think he wouldn't sulk about it, because I still think he appreciates being at Tottenham. I don't think he's unhappy here. He just wants to maybe go somewhere where he's starting more regularly. And then maybe if he fights for his place, he could get the best out of him and Porro, and I think that could be a great situation. But right now, it makes sense for him to maybe want something new.
Yeah, the thing is, like, if he sticks around and he is, let's say, back up to Porro.
Porro never gets injured.
Yeah, Porro never gets injured. But if these injuries still keep plaguing him, then he will see significant minutes.
And you know what? He's here because we tried to sell him and we didn't get any offers. Yeah. That's why he's here. And then he's stepped up. So it'd be funny if that happens again.
And he's also had so many minutes in a Spurs shirt because a doggy's always injured.
Yeah. So, look, I kind of don't mind whatever happens. If we get a good offer, then we end up selling him and we sign someone else, fine. That's fine. But if we don't end up getting the offers, he end up staying, I think that might be the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about Lucas Bergvall once again. It's like the saga that never seems to be ending. David Ornstein said that there is a consensus within the industry that Tottenham are seeking offers in the region of a minimum of £60 million for Lucas Bergvall this summer. Luke Edwards from The Telegraph says Newcastle's move for the midfielder is not expected to progress for now. Newcastle have been offered the player but are not interested at Tottenham's current valuation. So they're not interested in spending 60 million. But yeah, these Newcastle journals are crap.
Yeah, they always pump out the Newcastle narrative, which is fair enough. I don't blame them for it, but it's consistently wrong. Like every time. For the Tonali deal, the Isaac deal, they always pump out all this stuff like coming from the Newcastle side, but it's never fully the truth, and it's never exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it is usually about Newcastle selling players, where the news is horrifically wrong. I'm not sure what their track record is like as in potential buying players, but 60 million for Bergvall.
I mean, that's steep, isn't it? That is steep. I'd be shocked if anyone's going to pay 60.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it, like Nottingham Forest have had a what? Well, no, it was Newcastle that had a 45 million bid rejected, or 43. What was
Newcastle 46?
Newcastle 46 and
Forest 38.
Forest 38. So they've just sold Elliot Anderson for however much, 116 or 115 million. Like 60 million is just a drop in the ocean for them, mate. Like they can afford it. Half the fee, still got half the money left over. So stump up Marinakis.
It is crazy. You think about a year ago, we had potentially agreed a deal for Gibbs White for 65. Eze went to Palace for 65.
Yeah.
Cunha went to United for 62.
I think they were all release clauses though, weren't they?
No, Gibbs White was, and Cunha was, but who's the other one I mentioned?
Eze.
He was he? Oh, he was as well, actually, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Mbeumo, was he?
And Mbeumo had one year left.
He was 65 as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's crazy when you think about those are the kind of players that are going for 65 last season. Now we're demanding 60 for Bergvall this season. It's crazy how the market's gone.
The market's nuts.
Yeah, the market is nuts. I think, from Tottenham's point of view, if you are looking at 50. Then you do ask for 60. That's how it goes, isn't it? They bid 46. You say no 60. We meet in the middle. That's probably how it's going to go. And I guess Luke Edwards, he's obviously the Newcastle spokesperson. He's probably putting out, oh, we're not progressing because the valuation's too high. So they're trying to put out the message, drop the valuation.
But they're not too far away from 50 million, though, Newcastle.
No. Obviously, we're going to try and get as much as possible, but maybe we're looking for more 55 than 50. I don't think we're going to be stubborn at 60. I think 50 plus 5 million add-ons, the deal gets done, surely.
Yeah, I agree. Even 50 without add-ons probably gets done. I think you want add-ons in a Bergvall deal, though, don't you?
Yeah,
because you know how good he's going to be. So, look, we'll see where it's going, but it still all seems to be heading towards a Bergvall exit.